Gurudev, it's really a deep pleasure always to be with you, but particularly this time, I'm so grateful to have been asked to share with you some of the experiences I've been having most recently, and some of the things that you've definitely been experiencing more recently. And also just for the purpose of our conversation, but also for anyone who may be watching or listening to us speak, I'd like to just give a little brief introduction about who I am and how I got here to be the one to share with you and speak with you today. So I want to just say the last 45 years of my life have been not only colored with my experience of you, it's gone so much deeper. These 45 years have been a way of inside myself. I've been structuring and restructuring who I think I am. And having been with you, who is the living embodiment of what the Guru is all about, you've shared so much love with me and so much amazing insight that comes from your experience. And I've grown to trust over these 45 years that if I listen to my heart, I'll be listening to Gurudev. When I go inside and I listen to myself, I hear and see and experience all that I've been learning from you.
That is, I think, something that you said is very significant, because external Guru, when the teachings are practiced and internalized, it becomes listening from the Guru within. So even though, as you are saying, how my life is transformed, in all these 40 years say that I have spent with you, it's not because what I have taught you, but what you have internalized by connecting to the living Guru within you. That's what is your relationship. Outer relationship represents the relationship you have established with the Guru within you by practicing the teachings.
I really deeply feel that what you just said is the essence of the whole learning process of going inside and finding one's truth within oneself, but taking in reality outside, harmonizing what's happening outside with inside. And I know for me, over these 45 years, one thing that's, someone asked me a question, how has Gurudev changed over these 45 years? And I thought to myself, he hasn't changed a bit. You've done exactly what you've done all through my life anyway, and that is that you've gone inside, you've experienced your own understanding and your own depth and your own creativity and your own interests that keep unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. And you're not limited to who you've been being in the past. You're open to the future and open to the present moment as a guide for what wants to happen next. And in that way, you've been so inspiring for me, because I've been through being with you, and I'm not only speaking for myself really, there's hundreds and thousands actually of people that you've affected over these years. And the thing that's most important is that you've always created a space for people to learn through their experience. You're present, your love is the teacher. As Bapuji said in one of his writings, but he said it in one of the darshans when he was here with us, he said that, Amrit, your city is love. Your ability to love yourself and the life around you and the people around you. And you have continuously created this environment that invites everyone, whoever is in your presence, to start looking deeper within themselves. It's like, oh, I never really thought of it that way.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because I think he said that your Siddhi is love. Because Siddhi is connection to the love, which is God within, which is the source within. So when you live in the loving presence, you are connected to God within, to Guru within. And that is what becomes the energetic transmission, which we call energetic transmission or Shakti path, for people to reconnect with the Guru within themselves. Yes. So that has been always been my focus. And so that is why everything I do in the form of service to humanity is also simultaneously service to who I really am. Usually, most people, when they do what they do, it is done in the process of becoming that is carried out by ego mind in the dimension of time. Mine was how to return to the being by doing the same thing that people do, ego does for becoming. So once this is called karma yoga, yoga of returning to the source of power within. This is loving presence that you were talking about.
Well, in your loving presence, you engage people like myself and the people that you've been teaching and reaching out to in many different dimensions of work. And I want to talk about that a little bit later. But right now, what I want to say is that you create this, you invite people into the space of being more of who they are. You support people with your love. You asked me to do things when I first moved into the ashram. I thought I'd never be able to do this. Like, I've never done commercial design or advertising design. And my first seva at the ashram 45 years ago when I moved in was, please help design the brochures and the whatever because you're an artist, right? I never did commercial art. I never did design. I never said anything about it to anybody, but oh God, well, I'll figure out how to do this. And because you see us as we are and you see a much deeper level of potentiality, why? Because of your own study of yourself.
So this is what happened in my life. When I first came to America, I was only high school graduate. I had no education in psychology, philosophy, religion, hatha yoga, advertising, how to give lecture, how to be, nothing was there. I applied everything that came through me. Somebody asked, did you come here to teach yoga? I said, no, I came here as a student. But what showed up is who I was. That was coming from, there were no boundaries of the time as to what I can or cannot do. That was directly coming from the pre-learned intuitive dimension, which knew how to be in order to move in the next step to unfoldment. So that's how I came as a high school graduate, and within 10 years, I first went through the college 3 years, and then I was a design artist 3 years. I taught yoga all along the way, and I decided to be a full-time yoga teacher. And all this within 4 years. By 1970, it became one of the largest yoga centers in America. We had more than 2,500 students coming through 150 yoga classes every week. So where did that come from? That's what I see you talking. That's why I was guiding you to be the same way, because I don't see limits in you, like I don't see limits in myself. So when I said, do this is what happened in many teachers, many teachers who became extraordinary teachers because I believed in them. Because I believed in myself, therefore, they could see the potential in them that they could not see themselves. And then you can see, for example, several teachers at Kripalu who became the world-renowned yoga teachers. You can see how they were in the beginning.
Yes.
So I don't want to give names. You can see how they became that. So that's because I could call upon the potential that I was calling upon in myself. If I was limited in me, I will not see the limitless in you either. Yes.
Well, Gurudev, you're very sneaky. Because you have a way, not only do you see that unexpressed potentiality and that limitless ability to expand without time being a problem or even an asset, because you see us that way, I automatically get drawn into seeing myself differently. And confidence grows, because
exactly.
There's love, because nobody's perfect when they first start something they've never done before. But being loved all the way through the process in terms of like being held as being as big as you can be.
Right.
Or as expansive, or as the depth that you have.
Like exploring the hidden potential is what every human being is looking for. And what is holding them back is their pre-programmed conditioned past. So that's all the yoga practice is about, right? And that's what I see. That's what I have, like you said, it have always been the same. In that way, that's all I'm always doing, right from the beginning.
Well, I couldn't be more grateful for your presence, the gift of your presence in my life at all different stages and all different dimensions of my growth. You've been there, and I see exactly what you're saying in terms of the lives of other people. When you see them as they can be, and as they, like what you just said is so profound. I think it's a statement of humanity. We all long to fulfill ourselves. We long to fulfill the deepest churning and intuitions of our heart. And when we don't see that modeled outside of us with other people or individuals or other aspects of culture providing that, then we go numb. We don't know where to get to that
That's
place.
what I call the victim of their own past that they had created by reactive perceptions of their love life, family life, work life, or social life in the past. And that's what they identify with as I have failed, or blame people for who blamed to give what you were looking for from them. So that's all past is about. And that past is so compulsive, even though it is self-destructive, it is so compulsive that people stay identified with it. And they are in everything that they do is to serve their reactively processed perceptions of themselves, other, and the world. That's all they live for entire life. And they're still looking for bliss. Bliss is loving presence is within, but they are looking for outside. So most people are working from their past into the future. This process of I am yoga is about how to dismantle the past in the present. So your future is discontinued from the past. And it starts, foundation is the presence. The being that I am is from everything begins to unfold. So when somebody goes to a psychiatrist as a patient, he is unfolding from who he is not. I am messed up. My life, my married life is not working. My business have failed. And by midlife crisis, they say, life is not working. So the psychologist or psychiatrist, the patient goes and starts working from their toxic past. They want to, so that has made them dysfunctional in a social life. So what do? They make it functional in the society that is also dysfunctional internally. So society is suffering from all the conflicts, social, cultural conflicts, and that is what. So when people can function in the society, that's where they want to go when they go through the psychiatrist or psychologist. So become functional in the society so that their marriage works, their job works, they can hold the job, they can be creative, they can be successful. But yoga, the definition of yoga and Ayurveda is being established in the self, swasthya. So your journey for healing begins from self. So that is why I am yoga practice begins with meditation in motion. That's why Patanjali says yoga means witnessing the modifications of mind. And he says you can use asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana as a medium to practice dhyana, to clear all the obstacles that live in annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, to go into vijnanamaya kosha. So that is the big difference that I have been teaching and living for myself. Yes.
So let me just say back a little bit of what I heard you say, that in terms of culture, the society we live in, the family structures, the pressures we take on as an individual breadwinner or father or parent or whatever the roles are that we play, there's something missing in where we're headed in those roles. We don't know that we're identified with our roles. And you say at best what can be offered through medical intervention, through psychological restructuring or whatever, is we become functionally dysfunctional.
Right.
You can work it out. You can be as crazy as you are. You don't have to really change, but you'll be comfortable with it.
Right.
You know, you'll feel lonely inside and you won't know why, but you'll be able to function. That's what a society does to individuals. They all help keep conditioning them to do what the society's direction or purpose or understanding of itself is. And so what you have done in this, not just an effective way, it is a brilliant light shining in the midst of the darkness of the human condition when it's unconnected to the spiritual source within.
Exactly.
And you have so deliberately and so relentlessly and ferociously and lovingly invented new situations for human beings to experience themselves.
Yes.
And that's where, as a teacher, you, beyond a master teacher, you're a whole walking curriculum. You've reached out in every possible conversation that culture is in and shed light on it through your own experience and your own vision, and invited the people in that sphere of influence to jump into a new relationship with themselves.
Exactly.
People find courage and they find love, and we find support, you know, and being nurtured and accepted at our trials. And you know, we don't, like I said earlier, we're not good at it right off the bat, but we have the feeling of where we're going, and it's not up here. It's something that's drawing us from deep in here.
Exactly.
And as a guru who's established a school around you, and not just a school, but an ashram, a family life, an experience where people rubbing up against each other not only are drawing that insight from you, but drawing the insight from people who are going along the journey. And we've done a few more, you know, by the time I became the CEO of Kripalu Foundation, oh my God, how did I get here? You know, because I started as an artist, art teacher, and things like that. And through hanging out with you and being in the aura of all the people that you affect, there's this symbiote or this synchronized experience of people going into consciousness together as a group, and not being controlled by the group, but being loved for who we are individually. And in that model of the experiential learning process, you've become a genius in a whole new domain.
Right.
You're not, someone asked me.
So it was, like you said, a very significant word, experiential learning, which I was also doing what I was doing. The role of guru I was playing, I was also playing as experiential learning along with experiential teaching. My experiential teaching wasn't just independent of my experiential learning. That is why I do what I do, because I always want to teach what I want to learn, and at the same level. So I always taught at the level at which I was learning, and therefore I was teaching at the same level. So now my level has taken another leap. So my languaging is all about that level that I am in. And therefore giving is always becomes receiving. And experiential learning does not judge. Like experiential learning means when you are experiencing failure, you just don't start from failure. You reactively process self-perception as a failure into acceptance of who you really are. So that's what I was talking about. Yoga and Ayurveda teaches starting point as returning back to the being that I am. So you accept yourself as who you are, and the being becoming that has failed. When you accept, it's an experiment. You get back to the being as a starting point every moment. So becoming to being, from reactive perceiver to witnessing presence. So that's what I have practiced. Whenever I failed in any of my practices called unfolding for the spiritual domain. This is, so most people, when they fail in their spiritual discipline of, like, I will eat regular diet, I will not eat meat, I will eat just vegetarian, I will wake up in the morning, I will do everything to preserve my abusive use of my energy. When they fail, they reject themselves. That means they're starting for improvement, starts from who I am not, self-judgment. And that means the foundation is who I am not for starting the journey to success in time. This is starting the journey from being that I am. So it is from timeless being. The doing cannot achieve that. Therefore, creating a shift from doing to being, and therefore letting go of your past. Letting go, that is living into the doing and becoming more successful, better person by succeeding in what I do. In this system, when you succeed or failures, you return back to the being that I am. Therefore, you don't judge yourself, judge others, feel guilty, blame, or shame. Everything is out of the way. That's why this is the unique system that yogis discovered more than 6,000 years ago. As to start, the beginning should be with what you want in the end. So if you want samadhi in the end, start with the seed of the samadhi. If you want mango tree in the end, start with mango seed. So this, my mango seed is accepting yourself every time you fail in your exploring and learning how to succeed. So when you are learning how to succeed, failure is very integral part of it. And if you fail and you judge yourself, you are not in the mango seed, you are in the lemon seed, the ego mind. Now you will get a lemon tree, not the samadhi. Only conflicts will come from it.
From a mango to
So
a lemon.
integrative intention is from the very beginning, and every moment you succeed or fail, you go back to integration that comes through the witnessing the modifications of mind, emotions, anger, fear, blame, or shame. Yes.
So from a mango to a lemon, in one short judgment of oneself, we cut off the whole expansive expression of who we are into a new future and a new life. And Gurudev, one of the most important aspects of the teaching that comes through you, through your beingness and your relationship to yourself, is that when you hit one of those points, you don't judge yourself.
No, this is precisely the point. That this is the difference between what Patanjali says. Yoga means witnessing the modifications of mind. Modifications of mind could be blame or shame. So, blame is to other person or shame to yourself. Both are modifications of mind. He says, witness, let them go. Accept yourself that exists beyond the reactive perceiver that blames, that is in blame or shame. And that has been my entire life's practice. So every time I fail, I because I'm not there to succeed, I want to go. Witness goes beyond success and failure. So when you witness success and failure both, as with equanimity. Says Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, what is yogi like? He lives in the sense of equanimity, where he is equal-minded in success and failure, ups and downs. That is the real practice of yoga.
Well, you have embodied that, you've demonstrated that through your life and to those of us who have the privilege of being close to you and receiving directly through your teachings in the moment, through a direct love and relationship. You have gone through dark nights and through all the learning processes that obviously any human being goes through, except you never fall back into that as like a place to limit yourself or stop expressing, or you go inside and you go to a much deeper and deeper and deeper level of what wants to happen to your life. And I've witnessed that as you've gone through your changes through these past 30 or 40 years, that you've created a trail of opportunities for people to learn about themselves.
Exactly.
You're not out there trying to be perfect for everybody else. You're out there being in your truth. And in doing that, the wake of that is that the people behind you have to look at themselves and say, how do I deal with my own failures and my own successes? Gurudev loves himself through the whole thing. And isn't that amazing? And isn't that brilliant? But even what's more amazing is the diversity. It's not just you teach people in a yoga class how to do the headstand or how to do this or that particular practice. You're out there right now in the world. You've gone all over India in these past 6 months, creating openings for people to learn the deeper levels of I Am Yoga in the way that you cast it, in the way that you develop this curriculum. And you have these profound teachers that are now moving out through the world who are embodying the new forms of Yoga Nidra. And here you've gone into government situations, public school situations in India. You've brought Modi, the Prime Minister of India, into the yoga conversation. You've had conversations with him. You went to knocked on Gurudev. Other gurus were knocking on your door when you were in India because they wanted to hear what you have to say. And the culture that you were born into and that you've grown and nurtured yourself has come fully formed in a certain way. Because now that culture is reaching out to you and saying, what have you learned through this cross-referencing of one culture here and there's the culture in America? But you haven't limited it to that. And so there's this profound potentiality that you always stand for that's happening in your life right now. Like the depth of the experiences and the insights that you gain from yourself, just a little bit that I've heard already about your last journey to India, that there is such an opportunity and such a calling of who we all are as human beings to raise we cannot live and sustain ourselves in the way that we've been living up to now. Mm-hmm. Our earth has grown too small for that little behavior. And so you've provided a new pathway and you're out there inspiring people. You did the same thing with groups of large people, governmental employees, the police, the all aspects. You did this. The slow motion prana exercise. And when you do that, everybody goes inside.
Yes.
What works is because you're tied to the wisdom of the organism as well as the wisdom of the mind and awareness. And learning to follow prana, even learn that the prana is in there. It's got an intelligent voice.
Right.
And how do you connect with it? And you've created those bridges and brought people right back to themselves, no matter what a great role they're in or how many people they've taught or what their interests in life are. You've touched that nerve or that place inside. And
right.
I'm so grateful and so admiring of the things that I've heard and the things that I experienced being in India with you last year, that the world is waking up to the potentiality of who we are as individuals. But you are holding that out and embodying it, creating forms for people to connect with that. And you're just lit up.
Yes, I saw that. That potentiality is waking up in the young generation in India more than ever. So I was talking to the MS University, Maharaja Sayarjarao University in Baroda, where Aurobindo was one time a professor. So it is one of the most prestigious university of Gujarat state. And I met to the chancellor, and he's introducing the course in Yoga Nidra as a standard course. Then I went to one of the largest university of Bombay, Mithibai College, and the students were so responsive that they were sharing amazing experiences of energetic transmission. I was amazed that in India, the youngsters could feel and respond to energetic transmissions as well as they did. And they were so celebrative that when I walked out of the lecture, the young students, they circled around me and they danced all along the way while I was walking in the middle of them. It was showing like how they are so really open to exploring the mystical dimension in a modern, for the modern generation. So truly that is my intention, that Bapuji gave me the secrets of Kundalini Yoga, of energetic transmission, or Shaktipat. And that Shaktipat is happening along with the lectures, because when I am teaching, I am the doer, the achiever is not there. It is more coming from the presence that I enter into at that time. So it transmits the energy. And that's what created this kind of response from very young people to whom I was talking about the inner dimension of yoga and how Patanjali is teaching precisely. When Patanjali teaches his Ashtanga Yoga, he says how to practice it in the first and second sloka. Mm-hmm. So he says yoga means witnessing modifications of mind. That's not just during the practice, but in every interactions of life. When you succeed, you witness the modifications. Ego says, see, I did it. I'm so much better than others. Witness that. Mm. When you fail, oh my God, I messed it up. That is also modifications of mind. Witness it. So when you witness success and failure, you move beyond into the being, beyond the body-mind. Mm. And that's a whole practice.
Mm. Gurudev, when you're describing it in that depth, and when you were talking about the little children dancing around you in a circle, I had this thing popped into my mind. Gurudev provides the transformational transmission of energy, and that creates an ignition, the transformational ignition.
Right.
You know, you get lit up, you get started, right. And the children are not conditioned to not have that experience. They go right in there, and
right.
light up, and I'm just so glad that the transmission leads to a self-opening, that it's not dependency on you. You show the way, you inspire the transmission, you embody what it's like to be a fulfilled person who's deeply, deeply in relationship to themselves. You give, they know that because of the love that's around them. And just 2 minutes in your presence, something starts happening. And when you provide a context for what that is, that there's a deeper calling inside ourselves. And once you feel it through a transmission, then there's an ignition. There's a whole self lighting up and starting to understand or ask for more.
Right. The best part of this teaching is not what I teach to them, but what I empower in them. So they begin to get in touch with the source of light of consciousness within themselves. That is called igniting the power within. So that's what Shaktipat does. The teachings, intellectual teaching cannot go that far. It is surface. It is called communication. But this is communion, means there is transmission of energy. That means uniting, you use the word synergy. Synergy is created, means the people enter into co-creation rather than I create in them and they do it. No, that's not the real Shaktipat. Shaktipat happens remotely, directly, because the receiver is open to and receptive to what is permeating from the giver. So Shaktipat is like when flower blooms, the fragrance spreads. So when heart opens, and the Shakti radiates, and people who are ready, they receive it. Yes. And then there is another level that happens. Receiving is one thing, but again, maintaining that is a whole new thing. So that is why now I teach people as to how to maintain that Shaktipat through the practice of I Am Yoga teachings, which is teaching you who you are versus who you are not. That is the basic difference in the whole teaching, because you are moving from who you are not to who you are. So in surface healing that psychologists or psychiatry is based on, or medicine is based on, it treats the symptoms that appear on the surface like the visible tip of the iceberg. but they don't see the invisible part that is causing the appearance of the tip. And invisible is more dangerous. So in this I am yoga, you are getting rid of the invisible part of the unconscious ego mind. We call the karmic past. So that means removing from the cause. So if you remove the effect, if there are 9 different effects, 10 different effects, you remove one, all other 9 begin to get fed up with the one that you remove from. They get feed because when you remove alcohol drinking, then it may go into business and into eating. So that means it gets redistributed in other effects or symptoms. But when you remove from the cause, all 10 begin to erode. So that is the whole system of yoga and Ayurveda. That's why it begins with meditation, that the foundation of which is being presence.
Gurudev, in your understanding and in the way that you illuminate that process, so people can actually not just feel it, but see it and know it, you have invented infinite, really, but you've embodied and you've invented ways of going into practice that hold that doorway open. And the third sutra, stand there like a mountain, witnessing yourself as you are. Your true fundamental nature will be revealed to you, and you will be transformed.
Exactly.
And so in that third sutra, and just following along with what your natural progression is, it's so important to provide practices for people to go inside.
That is the difference.
That they take on. You don't start with the whole big picture, and try to change yourself overnight. That's doomed to failure.
Right.
I mean, we like to think that it would happen that way, but it doesn't.
It cannot.
It's the little steps.
Right.
And those steps are all the different curriculum. You've studied brain-mind psychology. The neuroplasticity of the brain comes into the Yoga Nidra. The brain waves. You're actually engaging people's technical intelligence to be a witness to the deeper process that's happening.
Exactly.
And it's founded in science. Why? Because the body works that way. And somebody finally discovered it beyond the yogis, and your own understanding has completely evolved, with your own interests and your own drive, into understanding the way things work and how you go inside and find the place that really makes the most difference.
Right.
And the curriculum in the school, it's like everything that you teach, teaching teachers, teaching the educational process. You've gone into all the different technical aspects of how we create our lives and how we get sick and how yoga therapy and all the different things that you can do. You have courses. You have a full curriculum that's still unfolding. It's a kaleidoscope of practices built in for different people in different stages of life with different forms of intelligence, but how they can actually find through their own doorway what it is you're discovering and you're saying. And in that's how you've empowered the people around you who are drawn to you for work, for being in relationship to themselves, finding ways to be effective within what they know and what they're good at and what people come to them for. And so in a way, it's not just change, it's really deeply transformation.
Right.
Deep transformation.
Right, because when people work on the symptoms or the effects that appear on the surface of the body, they are the symptoms. So all medical systems and psychology, psychotherapy, most of it all works on how to remove the symptoms or the effects. The cause remains untreated. What is yoga? What is so unique about I am yoga? It removes the cause. What is the cause? Cause is the time-bound ego mind that has separated itself from the presence within, has left its toxic reactive perceptions and interactions in life into the body, which manifests in the form of symptoms. So who caused it? Ego mind. How? in the journey in the dimension of time. How? By using the energy of consciousness, parasympathetic nervous system. So when you identify yourself as, I am my reactive perceptions, I am what I like, I am what I'm afraid of, then all of a sudden you replace the sympathetic nervous system that is acted upon by the being presence that you are. Now identification replaces that with who I am not. I am my anger, I am my thoughts, I am my self-rejection, I am who people don't love me. So then the parasympathetic nervous system just is used as a tool of manifestation of who I am not in the body by what ego says about itself. So, but being is saying, so when we are born, the being presence, sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system is operated by a cosmic I am presence and cosmic mother. Cosmic I am is sympathetic, cosmic mother is parasympathetic nervous system. Science calls it automatic. That means automatic interacting with mind. Yogis saw that it's coming from the beyond the mind. So that is why Patanjali says, without meditation, there is no yoga. Without going beyond the body-mind, there is no yoga. So this is what I have developed into this system as to how to replace reactive perceiver, who you are not, that is acting on a sympathetic nervous system, and turning it into toxic manifestations of toxic thoughts, emotions about myself, other, and the world. Everything I think through the ego mind is turned into toxic chemistry in the body that manifests as energy blocks in the body and memory blocks in the brain. So how to dismantle that? That is the whole new system that I could see it after I had awakening in 1970 and what Bapuji taught me about what is prana awakening. And that is what energetic transmission is about. And that's what we are talking about. Like there is a whole system that came into life that was never there until 1970. Yes, I had spiritual concepts, spiritual ideas that I built into the practice of yoga. And then after awakening, I saw that everywhere people teach the philosophy of Patanjali Yoga Sutra in their yoga class and yoga teacher training, philosophy of Patanjali Yoga Sutra and yoga postures and pranayams and pratyahara and dharana and separately. Actually, Patanjali says they cannot be separated. The yoga practice begins with meditation in motion. And that's what, from the very early days, and even Kripalu Yoga that I developed, I call meditation in motion. So this is going back to the being as a foundation rather than becoming that has created problems, that has appearing as a surface symptoms as a starting. So entire healing system is treating symptoms. Am I saying it should not be? No. I'm saying they must be treated, but they must be treated at the cause as well. So keep cause as that's what Patanjali says. That's where yoga means swasya, being established in the self through the medium of meditation, all along the way of practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara. So what you want in the end, called samadhi, must start with integrative intention all along the way. So the seed of integration is nurtured and becomes samadhi, where union of Shiva and Shakti, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, happens in the third eye, and then it goes into union, into Sahasrara. That is called Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So this I built into the real practice rather than philosophy, which is really missing in most of the courses. So it is not missing. In philosophy, it is not missing. In practice, they think it is not missing. But it is the combination of philosophy, of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, into the practice, into the action. So,
Gurudev, the one thing I'm hearing so many things right now, but what my awareness went to is that in what you're saying, there must be an intuition on some level within the person that samadhi is already there. Samadhi is not coming and going. Samadhi is there.
right.
And there's an intuition that presence is who I am from the very beginning.
From the
of
very
yoga
beginning,
practice.
exactly.
Because it's calling you home. And you don't have to have the whole thing of samadhi to have an experience. Even a little taste of that. The possibility that I'm already connected to the whole. And like what you said to the cosmic mother, I'm already there. She's already there in me. And I can touch or feel that. And just even the intuition of that begins to transform. And the importance or significance in bringing in the sutras, or the sutra, as a part of yoga practice is to establish that continuous connection to samadhi that's already there.
Yes.
We're not trying to get somewhere, it's already in us.
And what is the door
nature.
to samadhi that you must enter every time when you are out of it? So reactive perceiver is coming out of the past and reacting to the present. Means the presence door is closed. So when you watch the thoughts of the reactive perceiver, good and bad, success and failure, blame and shame, anger and fear, when you watch those thoughts that come from the past, they are not real. They are your individual creation out of the impersonal presence. So now, how to come back to impersonal presence? Witness those thoughts. Don't identify with them as I am. Right? Therefore, when you drop into the presence, you are dropping into the state of unification that happens only in the present. So you are, every time you create a turnaround from reactive perceiver to non-reactive witness, you are coming back to the nurturing the seed of samadhi every step of the way, and therefore it matures into mango tree. Yes. It's just so real. When people, that's what I taught in, let's say, one of the government of India has a yoga council. They have the whole councilate is established. Council is established for nurturing yoga, Ayurveda, and many other ancient healing systems of India to the world. And that council has the one yoga center in New Delhi called Morarji Desai National Institute. When I gave a lecture there, all the students, they had collected about 150 topmost students that were studying there. So they have courses from Bachelor of Yoga Science, Master's degree, doctorate degree. They give all these degrees. And they had selected the best teachers to attend my lecture on I Am Yoga and Yoga Nidra. They were so impressed. The organizer, Ishwar, he said, I want to invite you as a visiting professor because we want to introduce this course in our school, which is the direct extension of council that it is called Ayush. The whole organization is called Ayush, which is the government of India has started, and this is the immediate college which is overseeing how the yoga goes to the rest of the world. So when he saw my lecture and he saw what I have done, he showed me the book on his table. That was this book with all the pictures of the modern yogis as well as ancient yogis. He says, I'm surprised that you are not in this book. Next time you will be, he said, because he didn't know anything about me. So that means the government of India and its most immediate organization is really seeing the power of these teachings, and they want to bring it in India. Yes.
Well, Gurudev, your light knows no bounds. It just shines everywhere.
So because Bapuji once said, he says, when you have taught here after many years and when you become a yogi, make sure you go back and teach your own and serve your own country, Bharat, he said. Right? So that's why we give 2 different trainings so far. It's completely free training. Some of the very select yoga teachers from the topmost organizations like University of Bombay, MS University of Baroda, and then and S. Vyasa, the largest yoga and health center, Ayurveda and yoga center, where they also give doctorate in yoga, masters in yoga, bachelors in yoga, certificate in yoga, and applied in many different ways. And they have 200-bed Ayurveda hospital. And they want to, when they saw what I'm doing more fully, because we have known each other for many years, he said, I want to open our branch of a government college, of yoga college, with you. So he told himself, he offered it. So we were sitting on the table, and when he saw what I was doing, and what he saw what I have been doing, he thought that we would be an appropriate organization to represent the College of India, that is approved by Government of India, rather.
Gurudev, I'm experiencing your return to India to not give back to India, but to give to India as you've been in a way, set of circumstances, and you've opened up other sensitivities, and now you've gone back to India, and they're discovering one of their favorite sons, who's been there all along. And I'm thinking about this little boy down in the village of Pratapura, little Amrit, who's running around singing and dancing and jumping in the water. Nobody else would, but you go swimming in the aqueduct. And the village out of which you came, and you had such a glorious childhood in many ways because you were direct with nature. And from that little boy dancing around someone like yourself, the little boys that danced around you or kids, children, everybody is included. So all the boys and girls who danced around you were you. That was you. When Papaji came to town, you danced, your heart and all your things. And so I was thinking about that little child in you. It's still so present. You're 5 years old. Part of you never grew up because you love life so much, and there's so few boundaries.
What you just said is like how I was conditioned by society and culture in my early childhood. So I was raised in a very simple setting of a village setting where my house was built of mud walls and tin roof. And it was all one room, and outside veranda, one part of the veranda was the shop of my father. Can you imagine how big that could be? So, and I was raised in a most natural setting with minimum of the distorted social and cultural and parental conditioning. So I was raised in such a nothing negative was fed into me and impressions, because my parents were also very simple, living simple life, but spiritual life internally, which they didn't call, which socially you cannot call spiritual, because they were not going to the temple. Because in a small village there was no temple even. So there was no electricity. So my mother would cook with firewood, and there was no even, and then finally we got kerosene stove. I mean, nobody in the whole town had a kerosene stove, or so we were much more advanced in cooking using kerosene stove rather than just wood fire. So that's how I was raised. Where I went to school in my childhood, we walked about 3 kilometers to another town, where we had one teacher for 5 grades, and all the 5 grades sat in one room. So you can imagine my conditioning was so clean, so pure. So in the lunch break, I'll go and massage my guru. So, and no interactions with learning any crafty things, psychological things, with friends, nothing. So, but when I finished my primary school, so for English high school, I had to come back to my hometown, big hometown. So that was from Pratappura to Halol. That's when I started learning social things. But the fundamental was very, very clean, very pure. No negative social, cultural, or familial conditioning. So that's what you're saying. But I wanted to describe how Pratappura was. That's why whenever we go on a pilgrimage, for every time there is a tour, I take them to see where I was born and where I lived. And people are amazed to see from where I have come and what has become. And it is to me the most amazing part, because when I see in retrospect, what did I do? I really cannot find anything I did that brought me to where I am. Actually, everything I did happened so spontaneously in response to what was present, that didn't feel like I worked so hard at it to make something happen. It was just a flow of call and response by the reality, in a way.
Well, you're an international treasure of consciousness, and the freedom that you have to, like as you said in the very beginning, this limitless power to expand into all that you are without the limit of time, without the expectation, or without, as you've been teaching in the practices, it's a transition from doing to being.
Exactly.
And you've really embodied the beingness, the intelligence and the wisdom and the connection to not only Samadhi, but to the whole
right.
oneness, as you said, of it all.
Right. It's like doing and becoming to non-doing and being. That is Karma Yoga. That is the whole system that I teach. And how to integrate that into doing so that you are returning to the being rather than becoming. Becoming is ambitious goal in the world, in the society, in the eyes of the other. This is being, is in oneness, in harmony within. And when you are in harmony within, you begin to bring harmony and love and peace, no matter where you go, what you do, or who you are with. It's not doing, it's happening then. That's why I call it energetic transmission. Yes.
I wanted to loop back to one thing you were mentioning a little bit earlier, and just say when we were talking about Pratapura and the village and Halol being very close by, I just wanted to say how important it is, at least for me in my life. It's been so important to actually go there with you and see those places where you grew up. And you mentioned the tour. I don't think there's a higher opportunity that we could experience other than to go to India and see it with you through your eyes and take one of the tours. We went to Jaipur and Udaipur and Ahmedabad and Burrow, all these wonderful places, but to just see it is one thing, but to hear it through your experience and through your life, it just adds such a depth. And then to wind up at Milad, Papaji's Mahasamadhi place, and to have the ability and opportunity to go there and to practice and to, there's more energy in that room than there are in most people.
I know.
The room's got more energy than some people have energy in themselves.
Right.
But anyway,
and every time we go to the Pratapura, we go to my hometown, Halol, where I met Bapuji, and where Bapuji stayed for his meditations in cowshed that he built. He also built his meditation room there in my hometown, Halol. So every time I take the tour there and I show them where Bapuji would be meditating upstairs and I'll be playing with children downstairs, guiding them into yoga postures, and then serving Bapuji when he came out of deep meditation, Kundalini meditations. When he come out, he'll be glowing, radiant, and yet perspired and ready to take a shower. So I will take him to the well that was about 20 steps from the building there. Bapuji would meditate and we will play as children on the ground floor. So I will fetch the water from the well with the bucket and rope and bucket and through the pulley and then shower him. So those were, I show them all these places. They are the real pilgrimage to see where I was with Bapuji and how I spent those my ages, 17 or 18, when I was very close to Bapuji.
Well, in the inspiration of Bapuji, who is deep inside the ultimate experiencing and ultimate experiments with himself, you've absorbed all of that curiosity and also intention as you unfolded. And there was a place this year, I wasn't with you this year, but this year as you completed the tour, you went to an Ayurvedic center to be the receiver of the Ayurvedic technology and methodology and all that. And, there's so many different aspects of Ayurveda, which someday maybe you'll make a tape on what Ayurveda is specifically. But one thing really caught my attention, which is that you went into a dark room for 7 days.
Yes.
And I want to know what happened to you while you were doing
Yes, because every time I go to India, I do the cleansing of Ayurvedic Panchakarma, which I do. But this year, I went to a very specific place in South India, which has one of the most ancient systems built into it, that is called Kuti Pravesh.
Kuti Pravesh.
Yes, means entering into the dark room for different time, different days. Different people can enter different days. So, but that is, Ayurveda explains that yoga means it's being established in the self, means your true self, the witnessing presence. So when you enter this dark room, you're deprived of ego mind's ways of manifesting itself in the outer world through the 5 senses. So when you are in a dark room where ego mind operates all the time, at the level of in the mind, in the dimension of time, all those mediums are taken away in the dark room. So in the dark room, I could not write, I could not read, I could not call anybody. There was no phone, no computer. There was phone, but only for emergency, in case there was emergency there. There was local to the emergency phone only. So it was deprivation of robbing ego of all its ways by which it reinforces it and survives in the external world. So the dark room gives you an opportunity to access inner world. But if you don't have the access to inner world, you would be very uncomfortable in the dark room because your mind will take over the ego's position. And my mind did. So it was not easy. First of all, when I entered the dark room, which was like a a building with walls, and then there was another building with 3 walls inside, and then the third building with the innermost third building, that's where it was completely dark and silence. So when I entered, my mind was loud, very clear, and thinking about how to manage, how to be in that darkness, and so completely deprived of doing everything that I do during the day. But this was not just, there was no day here. There was no day, all day, night, everything is night. And then when you have all this time to do what you want to do, all in darkness, day and night, it's just only mind is active and you can't do anything externally. That was very, very trying. Like day and a half was like, oh my God, day and a half is so difficult to live in this darkness. How would I spend 7 days and nights? It was like suffocation, like phobia started. And I wanted to just run out and have a breath and see the sunshine. That's the kind of feeling was coming up. And then I said, no, this is the mind. This is my past that wants to have the outlets through the ego mind in the outer world like I'm so used to. And it was very difficult to isolate inside with doing nothing. So when you cannot do anything, where do you go? All you hear is your mind. So mind, if you do not know how to live beyond the mind, it's very difficult to live in a dark room for 7 days and nights. So I learned that how to create a shift. So before I learned, my mind was thinking, I said, instead of 7 days, I wish I had done for 5 days or 3 days even. I would have known what to do when I go out. So I started, because I was thinking maybe I should go out, because now I have learned the secret of how to be in a dark room, means in a non-mental way. So now I can go out and practice. So that's the way I was designing my conversation with the doctor. So I still don't feel like a failure who got, and I still can maintain my self-image. So I can explain I got the secret. I'll practice in the outside world. I didn't follow that one up. I instead stayed in and watched my mind playing those games. I should have done 3 days or 5 days. 7 days is too long. I don't want to stay. So then I fell in place. I went into meditation. I did some breathing and the postures, and then I went into meditation. You wouldn't believe, I went into meditation deeper than ever before, where I saw what meditation really means that I never saw ever before. That opened a whole new dimension to me. I became so ecstatic that when doctor came next morning to see me, I almost cried to say, thank you, doctor, thank you for creating this place. I would have never experienced this otherwise. So I was so grateful to him for having provided such a space for me to explore who I am and where I live, or who I am with. So I really discovered how to be with myself in the room where I cannot be with who I am not at all, because that was torturous. Everything my mind was creating. When I had fear, it was like panic I had never experienced. But that was created in my mind. It wasn't really happening. So I could see the distinction between how to be who I am versus what my mind says who I am and believe it. So that became so clear that after day and a half, the second day I really found the secret of how to be, how not to identify with my mind-made thoughts about myself or what was happening in the dark room, or how I was wondering, how would I spend 7 days in the way I was spending with my mind? And so that was I was so impatient that I was thinking about finding the ways to tell doctor how to make it short and still learn the secret, which wasn't true. So when I went through 7 days further, even after the first couple of days, it was still coming back. It wasn't like gone because I knew the secret. So I was still dealing with it. Even to the last day, the thoughts came. But it was again re-establishing witnessing the thoughts or practicing the stillness rather than, see, the thoughts is also a movement. It's an internal movement, but it's still a movement. So when Christ says, be still and know that I am God, this was required for me to live in the 7 days. So only through stillness I could survive 7 days, because 7 days in the presence are not 7 days. Being present every moment, I'm present. There is no time that makes it so uncomfortable. Yes. So that was a big breakthrough in my life, because I am still exploring where am I internally that I don't know whether I have learned to be who I really am, or am I living in my ego mind in just future plans and becoming more successful, more disciples, bigger work. No, that I am using as a medium, but to return back to the source that I am. And entering the dark room was another attempt to check, see whether I am or not. Yes.
Gurudev, this you're sharing is such a magnificent description of, for the first time, well, I'm really hearing more deeply the third sutra. Stand there like a mountain, witnessing yourself. Your true fundamental nature becomes revealed to you, and you become established in your true fundamental nature.
Right, exactly. That's a great description of third sutra.
And that's your whole life is, in a way, because of it seems radical, like a radical practice to withdraw for 7 days and go through what you went through. But it's not really that radical when you start to understand where this whole meditation into ourselves and understanding who we are, how that develops. And you when you were describing it, you described all the steps. You try to bargain with life, you try to outsmart our way out of it, or like, I know this, or it's so great to hear you say that about yourself and your experience, because it's what makes you so available as a human being.
Right.
And you're not this ghost that comes in, with these holy powers and then disappears. You're down in the trenches.
Which is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
I am working with it, and I'm getting better at it. Then I can say.
And you're getting younger looking too. I noticed. I mean, you really have a vitality about you. Maybe you've always had it, but I really felt it when I walked in today and I saw you. There was another level.
Yes.
So
that's what it is said, that when you live in your prana body more and less in your mental body, your prana body never ages. Only body ages, and mind goes through change all the time, just like body does, but prana doesn't. So the more you live in prana, more you live you maintain youthful vitality connection that people lose because they do not know the secret of how to live in the prana body. So when we were in one organization called Pyramid Valley, they also had a health department, and they had different machines to measure where your vitality is and where your energy body functions. So in that, it came that my age is 85, but in that, my cellular age is 48. That was so amazing. Machine, this is a Russian machine that people are using all over the world. And then they also measured my energy field, and that said, my body, I function in 63% in my parasympathetic nervous system, and 33 or 32 in sympathetic nervous system, means less in mind, more in prana, and only 3 point something in my central nervous system. So that even scientifically showed that I live more in my body, in tune with the prana, rather than in my ego mind. So,
significant it is to recognize the relationship between prana and the body, and to come to an understanding and an experience of how the body is the dwelling place for.
Right. And I didn't know how much I was living in prana and how much in my mind. I didn't know that. So when we were at Pyramid Valley, which is in Bangalore, very next to S. Vyasa, the largest yoga and Ayurveda center in whole of India, I was there, and they had a medical department, and they also had many scientific instruments to measure energy body and energy meridians and energy meridian related health problems and so on. So when they measured my energy body, they say your body is 63%. You are living in a parasympathetic nervous system, 33% in sympathetic, and 3 point something in the central nervous system. So then there was another experiment. I was in Delhi, and we met the scientist and a scientist and an inventor who had invented some kind of a machine to measure the energy field. So we had met before. So we met in the Kumbh Mela. We were attending the same big yoga conference that was somewhere in the isolated part of Kumbh Mela. So he had an amazing capacity. So he told people to say tell me 3 numbers. So he will type 3 numbers. It will appear on the screen. Then somebody else will say 3. He had about 50 figures on it. So he turned to the people away from the computer and the screen. And from the very beginning, he read all the numbers all the way to the very end. But the better part was he even read from the end to the beginning. And anybody would say, any one number, he will say what number was before that or after that, without seeing. So he also had an instrument that could measure the energy field. So he would invite people and say, come and stand in front of me. So he would have 2 handles, would have 2 funnels going out that would be aimed at all the chakra system of a person. And then he will hold here and say, now walk away from me. So the person walks away. When the energy field ends, these 2 pipes will go apart. That means that's the energy field of a person. So he found some people had 10 feet, some people 16 feet, but that's about all. So when he heard my lecture, he saw amazing parallel between what he was teaching and what I was teaching. So he got curious. He said, I would like to see you personally. So he came to our tent, because in the Kumbh Mela, which is the largest gathering on the earth of the people, everybody lives in the tent. So he came to me, and I think Prem Das and Hari were there during that measuring. he measured my energy field. He said, you have 300 kilometers, not feet, but in kilometers. In India, they say mile instead of miles. So he said, I've never seen this before. So then, this time when we went to New Delhi, he invited me as a keynote speaker for his organization. And there were people. Then after that, he said, let's measure it again. So, so he measured it again. And again, it came, I sat down and he measured, and it went to 500 kilometers. And then he said, meditate. So I meditated, and we went to 1,000 kilometers. So this shows that it is really working, because before I didn't know why was so much Shaktipat was working. I didn't know that because I didn't do it. Bapuji said, now you have, I'm giving you Shaktipat. And it started working. So there was something that was given and something that was there that was unfolding, was creating Shaktipat experiences everywhere, all the time. But I didn't know why and how. Now I can see the energy field that he was talking about was created. So after I had an awakening, I just knew the secret of how to live more in prana and less in mind. That's all my practice. That's what I teach. The programs called Prana Awakening, or Shaktipat, or I Am Yoga, or Yoga Nidra, or Yoga Therapy. Everything is about energy. Yes. How to connect with the energy. Because energy is the connection to consciousness. So that is why if you connect to the presence within you, how does that work? So only if you connect to who you really are. And how do you connect with it? By witnessing your thoughts. So when you witness your thoughts, you withdraw from your reactive perceiver that lives in the past. And as soon as you witness from the ego mind dominating sympathetic nervous system, it is automatically replaced by the being presence that you are. Therefore, now your body functions in co-creation with parasympathetic nervous system. Because creator, being, uses energy as a medium for creating all the material objects out of it, which is called life-giving functions. These are material creation. So just like a potter uses clay as its medium to make many different utensils and shapes, God uses energy to make many different shapes. Like we use electricity to manifest in many different forms. God uses parasympathetic energy field to create everything that are the objects in creation. And the creator is like the space, and all creations are the objects in the space, like galaxies, the stars, the sun, the moon, the earth, us, everything are the creation of the creator. So the space is who we really are. There is no limit to us. But we identify with time-bound, which has a beginning, ego mind, that identifies with the body, which has a birth and death. So you are not your body, neither are you your mind, because your mind thoughts are born and die, even faster than what happens in the body. So when you learn witnessing means the changing witness, when you witness what is changing, you come back to who you are automatically. That takes over the body, and then sympathetic and parasympathetic work in co-creation, which restores the health and vitality. So what does that mean? Ego mind hijacks the energy of God constantly to do what it wants to do for its own sustenance and survival. So every time ego mind is angry, blameful, shameful, victim of anxiety, fear, loneliness, depression, it is hijacking energy to manifest that into reality in life. How to be free from the past. That's the whole practice of I Am Yoga.
Well, you are yoga. The I Am Yoga that comes through you, Gurudev, is just, in what you just described, it's just a very beautiful summary of the whole dynamic relationship that's unfolding through us moment by moment by moment. And this, I really deeply appreciate this opportunity to get to be with you and to be able to ask you questions and have you be as loving and responsive as you are. And I just had this thought, like a way to bring our conversation to a pause, to be continued for life. I was going to ask you if you would to take a moment and close your eyes, and I'd like to just lead a little moment of expression of gratitude and love.
Right. So one thing that what you are appreciating is coming from who is appreciating. So you, just your manner of being is so totally non-egotistical. It's you are everything that you are recognizing. Who is recognizing? Who has already gone beyond a lot of ego mind related ways of thinking, interacting with life. So you are already so close. Therefore, your appreciation of what you seek is coming from you. So it's not just that you talk about me, but when you talk about me, what you see in me is what you are able to see in yourself as well. Otherwise, it cannot be. It's not, I don't see it as a just verbal saying, as a philosopher who is just interviewing me. You are a very special spiritual seeker, and that who has seen how it works, and therefore you have appreciation of how I have been practicing, as well as who is practicing, you yourself. So I want to appreciate that, because this is not just an interview. This is like beautiful communion that is happening between you and me. Thank you.
Gurudev, close your eyes. And from all the people who may be watching this communication and this darshan with Gurudev, just take a moment to go inside and feel the place in yourself, that places inside yourself that are opening, and allow ourselves to experience the love that's present, permeating every word. And just take a moment to focus our love on Gurudev, for the gift of being present with Gurudev in this lifetime, in this life that each of us are living. And in your heart of hearts, as you express the gratitude for Gurudev, just notice once again the appreciation you have for yourself, to be willing and to be fascinated and interested by your inner being, and also grateful for the many ways in which this union is possible, through the practices, through the teachings, and through the actual living embodiment of having Gurudev with us. And just wherever you are, taking in a deep breath, and inside to yourself, chant and listen internally to the sound of Om. Hari Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace. Jai Gurudev.